So it's about 45 minutes before sunset, and we get amazing sunsets here across the Lee Valley. Hopefully we'll get one this evening. It's amazing to think that once upon a time all of this would have been under the River Lee, and now we're about, I don't know, we're probably about just under a mile away from the banks of the River Lee from here. But sometime in the past, I don't know how long ago, maybe 30,000 years ago, possibly longer, the River Lee came right up over here. That dip in the road there, I'm not sure you can see it in the video, but that was a stream which was culverted about 100 years ago. I'm going to show you one of my favourite open spaces in London, and I think it might surprise you. It's one of the things I love about London. Here we have the Islamic Sharia Council right across the road from the Gurdwara, the Sikh temple, and they're both sat around St George's Road. Obviously St George being the patron saint of England. Leyton Park Road was where the famous avant-garde composer Cornelius Cardew lived. Now you might be thinking, in this age of One Direction and Nicki Minaj, that who gives a damn about an avant-garde composer? But he was so famous in the 60s that he had to get rid of Yoko Ono. She wouldn't leave his house. She moved in as an unwanted house guest. Cardew was quite unimpressed, I think. He was dedicated to his politics, though. He was a deeply political man. In the end, it's said that it killed him. So Cardew was famous for developing graphic notation. And basically, graphic notation is just where, instead of writing the usual musical notes, you know, semiquavers and all that business, it was just like a load of symbols and signs and patterns, and the musicians had to freely interpret that, which could turn into a terrible racket. But I think sometimes it did turn into a terrible racket. But then other times it turned into something brilliant. And the idea is it liberated the musicians to play as they wanted to. A very democratic idea. This is Sidmouth Park, Leyton, and we're basically walking over a buried stream, the Phillybrook. It runs through this park. I'll put a link below to a walk I did along the length of the Phillybrook with my dear friend Nick Papadimitriou for a radio show we used to do. And the stream, the Phillybrook, ran down the side of this building. That is one of my favourite shops in the world. They sell absolutely everything. Leyton Town Hall really captures the sunset. It's like a kind of Inca temple to the idea of London local government. That's a fantastic Portuguese cafe bar. They do great coffee in there, and they've got pastries the size of your fist. Now Leyton was famous for a brief moment around the time of the Olympics, and you can see where they painted the shops to look like Notting Hill, basically, and it is really lovely. But what I think is brutal is you see the point where it stops. Look, they got missed out, and then down there you can see, just near my favourite shop, no more painted shops. So really they only did the bit that was near the entrance to the Olympic Park. Now this is where the famous composer Cornelius Cardew was killed in a hit and run accident in the early hours of the morning on the 13th of December 1981. I don't know if this zebra crossing was put up because of that, or whether it's some sort of macabre tribute to his graphical score. He could probably play that zebra crossing. So Cardew was walking along here on his way back from Stratford, where he'd been on an overseas trip. Now, he was very political. He was involved in Marxist-Leninist groups, and I think he'd been in a political trip in Germany. It's been suggested that he had so many political enemies that he was assassinated, that the hit and run was a deliberate killing, but it was a murder with the finger pointed at the Stasi, the East German secret police. Leyton High Road is also an ancient pilgrimage route for people going to visit the grave of King Harold, the last Saxon king of England, which is at Waltham Abbey in Essex. I've done that walk myself actually, and it's a fantastic walk, highly recommend it. And surprisingly, King Harold had lived in Leyton. I think his brother Tostig, something like that, he lived in Leyton as well. It was a place of royalty, but the wrong kind of royalty, the royalty that lost. Is there a right kind of royalty? I don't know, I'm not so sure there is. The old Templar lands, Temple Mills, land belonging to the infamous Knights Templar, and this is one of my favourite open spaces in London. Sometimes I used to come down here on a wet Saturday and sit and have a cup of tea in Burger King, and it felt like I was in the Midwest of America. Look at those skies, so big and open, vast dreaming skies.